Jill Nelson believes that in this technology-focused world, success depends on making one human connection at a time. In 2003, Jill founded Ruby Receptionists to offer small businesses a more efficient alternative to hiring full-time phone staff. Today, Ruby's live receptionists and chat specialists provide more than 10,000 small business customers with a platform to win new business, build customer loyalty, and create real human connections backed by excellent service. The success of Ruby Receptionists has been driven by Jill's philosophy of incent, inspire, empower, which is evident in everything from how the company grows their own leaders to their wow station method of delighting their clients. During her time as Ruby's hands-on CEO, Jill was able to grow her company significantly without losing what made it special in the first place. And she's here today to teach you how to do the same thing. Joined now by Nutshell's content marketing manager, Ben Goldstein. Please welcome Ruby Receptionist founder, Jill Nelson.
Hello, everybody. It's great to be here.
Hey, Jill, good to see you. Thanks again for being here.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me. What a great day.
Oh, thanks so much. So I really want to learn more about the story of how you founded Ruby and built your company. But before we get to that, I'd like to learn more about your origin story. You began your professional career in sales. What did you sell?
I sold computers back in the day where you actually needed a personal consultant to decide which personal computer was best for you and your small business. That was my very first job out of college.
The olden days, I suppose, right?
Yes.
So go ahead.
I actually remember talking to someone and they were talking about choosing between a 10 megabyte and a 20 megabyte hard drive. And me saying, like, I don't know what you would ever need a 20 megabyte hard drive. So that probably dates me.
Were there any lessons you learned in your first couple sales jobs that you still carry with you today?
You know, my very first sales manager, he had this philosophy and he's like, if you can do this, it will put you ahead. Sadly, it will put you ahead of everything and determine success. It was a really, really simple statement. It was do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Such basic, simple, method. But alas, that sometimes is what wins the day.
Yeah. Was it always your plan to start your own business? Or were you just waiting for the right idea to come along?
You know, I have always been somebody who's super curious and I get very attached to ideas, but I don't know for sure that I ever was like, I will have a business someday. But I did spend time as a receptionist for a small-time business broker. And as I saw business owner after business owner come in through the door, I started sort of curating ideas and going, oh, when I have a business someday, it will be this and this, but not that. And ooh, I love this and that. And so, you know, it was that job where I actually started to think about really what business ownership looked like, the excitement, but also sort of the risky scariness of being a small business owner and really what it took to be a success.
So in 2003, you started Ruby Receptionists.
That's right.
Tell me a little more about what inspired the concept for the business, and how did you realize that small businesses could get value from something like this?
Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting. I don't know what it was about small business, but I've always been really attached to that economic engine that drives our total economy is the Main Street small business. And originally I had this idea that I wanted to do something, you know, very, very simple, similar to like an old fashioned WeWork. An executive suites concept. I'd seen them done. I'd spent time as a receptionist. I thought that would be cool. And where I live in Portland, there was the Pearl District, which is up and coming, a lot of live work. So that was the original idea, but I had no money and no business experience. So, you know, I couldn't find a landlord willing to build out Class A office space for me. And so just, you know, took that as an opportunity to say, well, if I can't do that, what can I do with the resources I had? And basically took the business idea without the real estate and said, well, okay, well, if I still want to help small businesses, even if I can't be right next door to them, how could I do that? How could I be their receptionist? How could I help them with other things? And then, really started investigating what sort of software and technology were out there to make that happen.
Right. So what did Ruby look like in those early days? Was it sort of a bootstrapped out of the garage sort of thing, or did you have outside investment?
So Ruby was a very small venture that started in an old sculptor's studio full of 20 years of sculptor's dust. But in order to launch, I did need to buy a software system and a relatively large, professional phone system and hire employees, because as a live virtual receptionist, we had to be there to answer the phone whenever that might be, even without customers. So I ended up writing a business plan and getting one of the very few SBA loans that were given based on not collateralizing a home, but based on the business plan. And I literally invested it was $17,000 that I had earned in my IRA from my role as a receptionist. And I put that in and the $75,000 SBA loan, and spent most of it before we even went live, and hired 4 people to cover the phones before we even had one customer.
Wow.
Super scrappy, super scary. And, looking back, what an awesome, fun ride.
Yeah. Besides operating on sort of a shoestring, what were some of the other first challenges you encountered running your first business?
One of the first lessons that I learned, it's interesting because today I just espouse everything about the human connection and about employees and how they are literally the engine to success. And when everyone's excited about the mission that you're accomplishing and where you're setting to go, that just is, it drives success. Back then, when I wrote that business plan, I did not give a thought to employees or employee management or anything of the nature. I wrote that plan with this belief in my head that I would hire employees. They would show up exactly when I wanted them to do. They would willingly take whatever compensation I was able to afford to pay them with no training whatsoever. They would be able to read my mind and execute flawlessly on whatever it was I asked them to do. And wow, what a learning experience. And also that they would be able to just, work nonstop without, having time from, switching tasks and, actually reading email in between answering phone calls. And having never, ever managed a person before, I think of these past 16 years, it's really been, it's been a lesson in business, but it's really been, a lesson in humanness.
Yeah.
And working alongside people.
Right. So how long did it take before you were out of the woods, so to speak? How long was it until you could start worrying or stop worrying about the business failing and you felt like, okay, we're on solid footing now?
Yeah. I mean, it took a while, and I did magically have this, I would call him an angel investor, but there was a point of which, if you think about Ruby, we are live receptionists. We're a part of your small business, and we're there for you. And there is no backup, auto attendant answering. And so very early, it was evident that this service was needed. Our customers loved us. They were referring other people. They were telling us, how much peace of mind we brought them because they were able to focus on the things, but they felt like their customers were taken care of. But still, without critical mass, we were staffing to ensure that we could answer every call live. So we would be sitting, 15, 20 minutes in between phone calls, waiting for the phone to ring so you can, and then of course they would all ring at the same time. So the proof, that customer proof, that market fit thing, that was established very early on and it was really exciting, but it was a matter of, are we going to run out of runway before we could reach that break-even period? It was a matter of time. And then right before that happened, I found out that the phone system that I had bought with the assumption that it would get us to 2,000 customers literally maxed out at 200 customers with zero upgrade path. And so I was actually noodling on this idea that we would have 2 of these phone systems and our receptionists would wear 2 sets of headphones. I don't quite know. So super scrappy, really scrappy.
I'm glad you figured that out.
Yeah, this person came along at the right time and had started out saying he was going to open a competitor business, but then once we started talking, he said, actually, can I just invest in your business, which I've never known was a thing. So there's some lucky breaks along the way, but that gave us the runway just to keep going, to get to that crossover period of break even that we knew was coming if we had the runway.
Yeah. Did you always feel comfortable in the role of CEO, or was there a learning curve there as well?
No, I'm probably a CEO because I am unemployable. This is clearly, being the CEO of Ruby is the longest gig I've ever had by far. And I really have always thought that going to work is like, well, like I've kind of like rebelled against authority in my youth, and this idea that someone might actually do what I asked them to do, clearly because it was their job or because of my role. Like, that is not how my brain thinks. If I believe in something and I like who I'm working with, and I want to do right by them, I will work tirelessly night and day. That's how I thought all employees were. So it took me a while to understand that people want to work for a company where there's a leader who has a defined mission and vision and knows where they want to take the company, and they want to get behind that and be a part of that. That's just been a lifelong learning lesson, and it took me a while. I accepted the role before I actually got comfortable in the role. But I just thought we were a team.
Now, this is a perfect segue, because I wanted to talk a little about your philosophy of incent, inspire, empower, and we'll lay these out in detail in a moment. But first off, are these company values that you had from the beginning of the business, or did they develop over time?
So we have a set of core values at Ruby that are a little bit different than this leadership philosophy of incent, inspire, empower. And just I would absolutely say no. I mean, oh my gosh, the first couple of years, like, we didn't even have a training program, much less, sort of like, oh, you're empowered to do this, and let's get you programs, and let's make sure the way we incent you is aligned with what our values are and what we're trying to accomplish. It really was probably critical mass around 2011, where we won the #1 place to work from the Great Place to Work Institute and Fortune magazine. The first time we entered the contest, we actually came in first.
Oh, that's incredible.
We actually went, wow, how did that happen? Wow, we must be doing something special, and started to look inward and really, talk to our people about what it was that made us that way. And then we still worked along those lines, and it wasn't until we were growing so fast that we were starting to lose some of the legacy sort of oral history of Ruby that we really had to put some of these things into practice and programs and, systematize it.
Yeah. So essentially, we're talking about a framework for treating and developing your employees that they give your customers the best experience, right?
That's right. That's right. And just, from a perspective as a small business owner, I think so many of us go into business thinking that we have, like, we go into business because maybe we have a passion for that thing. Maybe we work for somebody else, and we felt like, we can actually do it better. But a lot of times people go into business because they have a passion for helping their customers, and they really want to have that personal connection. And when you're super small and you are the one wearing all the hats, and you're the one engaging with your customers, your clients every single day, you're able to have that level of service. And then even when you get your first few employees and you're in the same room, you still have a little control over that. But when you start to have hundreds of employees and you're further and further removed from everyday conversations with your clients, that's where you really have to put the trust and empowerment and programs in place to really incent, inspire, and empower your employees the way a business owner feels that they have that empowerment and incentive to do right by customers. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know if that answers the question.
Absolutely. No, so I think this is a good time to dive in a little more greater detail. So let's go through these 3 pillars of your philosophy, and the first one is incent. Yes. And we know this is a big one because the right incentives motivate and the wrong incentives lead to bad behavior oftentimes. So what's your general approach to incentivizing your employees, your team members?
Yes. And all of these things learned by doing it the wrong way first. So at Ruby, our values are, foster happiness, create community, practice wowism, innovate, grow. And we also have to answer every single phone call live within just a few rings. And so attendance and productivity are also something that has to happen as well. So if our incentives start to focus on, how many calls did you answer and how often were you on time? And we're not balancing that with like, how are we rewarding and celebrating your delivery of the mission? We are incenting the wrong things.
Yeah.
So obviously financially, making sure that the things that you incent on align with the vision and the things that you're preaching every day, I think is really important. But I would say beyond financially, I think at Ruby, one of the things I've noticed is what are we talking about on a daily basis? And so if we have a half-hour one-on-one together once a week and we're spending 20 minutes of that time talking about attendance, we are not incenting on those other things. So I think beyond financial incentive, time, how we ask you to spend your time, and what are we talking about? I think all those things are incentive. What are we complimenting on? Or, so that's how I think of incentive is beyond financial.
Was it harder to incentivize financially when you were just starting out and maybe didn't have the budget to do so? And what were you doing back then?
Once we learned, I think that's a false premise. I think there's always ROI around incenting on your mission and rewarding the things that drive success. So, whether you have a little bit to give or a lot to give, it's how do you align that with the things that matter to you? And so it wasn't that we had low financial resources. Even when we were that best place to work, I wouldn't say that our financial pay or even our benefits were best in class at that time, but how we talked, how we celebrated with really low budget, community events, how we complimented people. We actually made a commitment every time a customer complimented us, we would send that to the entire organization. And those are all things that they're incentive, that were, that come cheap. But really sort of align with, hey, this is what matters. This is what we're going to talk about. This is what we're going to celebrate. And that's incentive as well. And that could be done on any bit.
So what is the material impact of incentivizing the right way? Is it revenue? Is it retention? What do you get out of it?
Yeah, all of the, but at the end of the day, it is that delivery of that service. We have to constantly reinforce, like, our business is that real human connection. You can have a machine answer your phone and it will be accurate and it will have a friendly tone and it will always follow instructions. The whole beauty of the human is that we can listen, we can hear people, we can make them feel special. Those are the things that are worth incenting. And so, oh my gosh, I forgot your question already.
Oh, that's right. It's the impact of incentivizing correctly.
Yes. Yeah. So incentivizing correctly helps you live that mission. It helps you walk your talk. It helps, and yes, it helps employees feel really proud. It helps alignment across the organization. But at the end of the day, it delivers the exceptional service that, especially as a small business owner, I think almost all of us, if not all of us, really do want to really please those customers and deliver on that value proposition.
Right. So let's move to the second piece of your philosophy, which is inspire.
Yes.
What does that mean exactly in this context? Inspire them to do what?
Yeah. So, I probably should tell a little about just a few of the programs that we do at Ruby.
Sure.
So, we are live receptionists and now we're also live chat. And the value proposition is that we're really helping your callers and your customers feel heard, that we make them happy, we make them feel good about your business and want to do business with you. And so when we train receptionists, we of course have to train them on the software and we have to train them on how to route a call and how to know how to answer questions and where to look to see if somebody's available. But we also do a lot of training around around what you can do to make a connection. And so but it's different every day. So there are many, many stories. And so that's one of the ways we inspire is through story sharing. So when we tell about the receptionist that years ago in her first week of work took a call for one of our customers who had been in a car accident. She took a call from their insurance agency and everyone was okay. But instead of just taking a message and sending along, the basic information, she went out of her way and sent them an emergency roadside assistance kit with a note, which turned into just, a lot of customer love and a big blog post. And so sharing that story, of course, that's not going to happen exactly like that every week, but it's an example of how we are able to make connections in these small little conversations and help our customers understand that we're here on their team. So inspiration comes through, first and foremost, story sharing and celebrating those moments. It comes through peer-to-peer recognition. And then, of course, when we talk about delivering on our values, it is not directed at one particular segment. So if we say we want to practice wowism and create community, it's not just with our customers. We want to treat our employees the same way. So the same way they're wowing our customers, we try to wow them on a daily basis too. And just so how we treat our employees reflects in how they treat their customers.
What's the first step to doing this, to creating an inspirational organization? What are the first things you do to lay that foundation?
Okay. Well, I guess that actually has to go back to empower. That's why Incent, Inspire, Empower
all right.
all go together.
Well, let's move forward then.
Okay. So, really, it is so scary as a small business owner to just say yes to your employees. You do not have to ask me to give, all a customer's money back if we goofed. You don't have to ask me if, the customer's having a bad day and you want to send them, a pizza or something, or you can do it. And not only can you do it, we want to make sure that you have the time and the space to do it. So we want to ensure that we're incenting you in terms of what we reward and how much time we give you to do these things. And then when you do them, we really are encouraging you to share them. And so at Ruby, we have peer-to-peer nomination for all of our core values. We really challenge everyone to tell a story. We tell the best stories at the staff meetings, and they come along with cash prizes now. And we turn them into posters. We might share them on a blog post. We have a weekly communication newsletter to our internal team, and there's always a wow story of the week. And again, just people really, like, how many of us, I'm sure you guys have heard some really wow customer stories today. They're really great to hear about. They're really heartwarming. And when I've actually heard employees come to Ruby and say, I love working here because you actually let us be nice to customers, which is kind of mind-blowing. But when you inspire through story sharing and say, this is the kind of thing we celebrate here at Ruby, it helps the creative juices flow and perpetuates.
Sure. Now, the first time you and I spoke, you told me about this wow station thing you do at Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about mind-blowing. I love this. I thought it was an amazing idea. So I was wondering if you could tell the Boundless viewers a little about what this looks like. It's fantastic.
Yes. Yes. So, we're partly little, tens of thousands of little 1 minute moments a day and efficiency. And we're about taking the time to have those human connections. So the wow station is a little bit of both. So over the years, as people have had those moments of connection, some of them are repeatable. And those things that are repeatable end up in the wow station. So we have many, many kinds of note cards that when we have a moment of connection with a customer, our receptionist can just go over to the wow station, grab a note card and send that note along, or a little picture sometimes. We also have Portland local roasted coffee with our Ruby mugs that anytime a customer, especially early in the morning, is like, hey, how come you're so cheery all the time? Or, gosh, I really need another cup of coffee. We'll send that along. We have little get well bags with tissue and some get well tea and now coveted, hand sanitizer that when we hear someone sneezing over the phone or calling in sick for the day, we have a little care package that receptionists can go to the WOW station and send along. And of course, we have Ruby branded packaging to make it easy and empowering for them. And then we also have a prepaid Amazon account that everybody has access to, that they actually can buy anything at any time for any customer, no questions asked. They just have to share the story. But it's a way that they can also make an even more personalized connection. It's not just about giving gifts. It's about celebrating those moments of connection. And so sometimes, again, it is just a note card. Sometimes it's a little 1-minute video. Sometimes it's a little piece of art, but sometimes it is something thoughtful that from a connection made.
That's wonderful. So what are some other strategies you've used to empower your team members? I know that developing and promoting talent from within is really important to you.
Yeah. I mean, as we've grown and we have moved now into live chat, we've gone even outside of Portland with our first acquisition into Kansas City, and really perpetuating that culture is really important. So I can talk a little bit too on the employee empowerment side. So again, they really are empowered at any time to do right by the customer. At work, we also have beautiful spaces that everybody has 24-hour access to. Everybody has a culture budget, so they have a small fund. It's $100 per year per employee to fund community events or things that would help any of the core values at Ruby. They can self-finance, and when they have an idea like an event or something for the office or perhaps a charity, they will send out that idea and crowdsource the needed funds. So that way, the things that are most meaningful to our staff get funded, and those dumb ideas from the top don't. But it's just a way of empowering people to really make the culture their own. So we actually talk a lot about people-powered culture. But I think staying focused on what it is we're doing, why we're here, and making sure everybody knows that if they want to do it, the answer is yes. But that means then they get to lead. That's empowerment at work. I think can you be okay?
Yeah, good.
Okay, great. One last thing about empowerment. I think as a small business owner, it's one of the hardest things is letting go. And it's also one of the things that I think is really, once you can really embrace that, is sort of like breaking that bottleneck to continue to scale and grow and perhaps even get some of your own time back. It's been the most inspiring thing I think Ruby is today. I could have never, ever dreamt what it is in my own head. It's only because of the people that came here and they saw what we were doing. They believed in the mission, but they brought their own ideas. And when they asked if they could, bring their ideas to life, and we said yes, they just, worked tirelessly to bring that fruition. And so today it's really something special. And for anyone that's in Portland or comes to Portland, I hope you'll stop by for a Ruby tour, because it's a lot of this is in action. You can see it.
Oh, I know we'd love to visit. I wanted to go back to hiring for just a moment because I was curious if these 3 pillars of incent, inspire, empower affect who you hire in the first place, or even how you hire.
Yeah, hiring is everything. And we long ago learned that we really hire on the values in every position. I mean, our engineering team, one of the things they love about their job is they get to see the work, put into place to make their customers' lives, our receptionists and our customers, easier. So it's just like the culture is just embedded throughout. A very high percentage of our receptionists are referred by people that work at Ruby, and our receptionists are both protective of the culture. So even if they know someone to refer, they'll only refer those that they know would be, that really love to live that. But we hire from all walks of life. So we've moved from hiring primarily administrative people that was early on to hiring from retail, hiring from restaurants. We take a number of people from Starbucks. It's just like those positions where connecting with customers is what makes them excited to, get up in the morning and come to work. Those are the people we want to hire, and we can train the rest. Like, the technology that we use at Ruby has only gotten better and better and better. So that part is the foundation that allows us to be able to really just hire people who like making other people's day, who view, taking 200 calls as 200 opportunities to make a difference in somebody's day.
Yeah. I want to talk about maintaining culture through growth. Ruby grew pretty quickly in terms of customer base and headcount. The team's about 650 people now, right?
Something like that, yes.
And around there, right? Ballpark? So how did you manage to retain your company values even as you grew to that size?
Yeah. So one of the things at Ruby is, again, the protection of the culture at Ruby. It is, we are able to attract amazing talent because of the culture. The entire executive team at Ruby is there. They could probably work anywhere. It is a competitive advantage to attract top talent when you have a mission, a vision, and a group of people who will get behind you to deliver that. So I feel like it's a huge advantage, but it's non-negotiable. I mean, it doesn't matter how skilled you are. If you don't believe in helping small businesses grow, if you don't believe in that human connection, if you don't believe in our values, you won't be successful here. So that's part of how we retain our culture. And then another thing that's beautiful about Ruby is those same executives also have a strong passion for mentorship and helping other people grow. So I want to say 2/3 of our leadership started out as receptionists. I think a significant portion of our engineering and product team started out as receptionists. So they have a unique understanding of what it is we do every day, our frontline people do every day, what our culture is and how to protect it. So I think growing from within for whatever challenges it has, it's absolutely essential to retain culture as you scale and grow.
Great. So what's next for you, Jill? I know you're still on the board at Ruby, but do you have any plans to create a new business after that?
So, well, funny you should ask, because I think since the last time we talked, my life has actually changed. I handed the reins to the intrepid Kate Winkler, who's just been living, just taking Ruby to the next level while still maintaining everything that is special. And just literally 2 days ago, I announced I joined as general partner to a venture capital fund out of Oregon that invests in the underserved entrepreneur and provides a really cool model of capital plus mentorship to essentially change the landscape of what successful entrepreneurship looks like. So we're currently raising our second fund and investing in women, founders, minority founders, LGBTQ, veteran, and depressed communities. If you are in a community that traditionally has overlooked from BC, that's who we like to invest in and believe in, and can't wait to prove to the world that's really the best place to make an investment.
That is wonderful. Good luck with that. It sounds
you.
fantastic. We actually have a few questions from the audience, if you have time for it. Actually, a lot of questions are coming in right now. I really like this one. You refer to yourself as a rebel, and it's one of the reasons you're so successful today. When do you think it is okay to rebel, and when to follow the rules?
Okay. Well, I think you always want to live your own personal values. And so I think it's good to rebel when you feel like your personal values are being compromised. I think you have to be prepared for the consequences. And I think that's one of the things that I like, that I've had to learn that. And then I think that over the years, I think that I have learned to really listen more and to really try to understand. We all come from different places. We all have different strengths. We all have different ways of thinking and different points of view. So sometimes it makes sense to follow the rules, even if you don't understand them, until you really kind of fully understand them. And then you either get to oh, okay, I get it. It makes sense. Or no, yeah, my gut was wrong. And I'm going to speak up.
A couple of people have asked some variation of this. What's the best customer story you've heard from your team about an Amazon purchase? So that wow station thing where they're empowered to use the Amazon credit and buy whatever they want for a customer. Can you give us a couple of great examples of that?
Okay, I have tons of them. There's a chicken story, if you can believe it. So we're here in Portland, Oregon, and sorry, there's something weird on my screen. I'm so sorry. So we're in Portland, Oregon, where in downtown Portland, you actually raise chickens. It's a thing. And one of our customers in Alabama is an attorney, and he apparently bought some chickens to raise. And we took a message about his chickens. And ironically, the receptionist that took the call also raised chickens. And so she got off the phone after taking this call and sent our customer a chicken starter kit, and this attorney on embossed letterhead sent me a letter talking about how kind it was for the receptionist to send the chicken care package. And he talked about the names of his chickens and how they were doing well. But then he talked about how he worked out of an old jail in a little tiny town in Alabama by himself. And what he said, helping the people who need help the most. And it was lonely work sometimes. And he felt like Ruby here with him was like, he felt like he wasn't alone. He felt like he had a whole entire team behind him helping the important work that he did. And this is just out of, well, I think it was out of every day, but this one act of kindness and connection regarding the chicken starter kit made him feel that way, and enough to write me a personal letter on embossed letterhead. It's really cool.
Love that story.
I have a million of them, so I don't know how many stories, but that one's
that is a good one. I have a couple more. Scaling your business in the successful way you have is an incredible achievement. What did the time frame look like during that scaling period for iterating on your process or rethinking employee bandwidth? So in other words, what were the challenges of going from your initial process to the process you had when you were hundreds, a team of hundreds? How much work did you have to put in your process and rethink what each employee could sort of contribute?
Yeah. So, oh gosh, it's just constantly evolving, but really it's a constant. We did everything almost manually at first. And then as we grew, recognized that our technology had to be our brains. We couldn't rely on our fading memories to really take care of the customer. The technology had to do the heavy lifting to know about the customer. So ironically, bandwidth has gone up for our staff as the technology has evolved. So I just voraciously invested in technology. So as soon as we could create a billing system, did that, and it used to take two of us an entire week to do billing. Once we got the billing system, to this day, one person is able to do billing for the thousands and thousands of customers we have. We launched our own software in 2011, and that was a game changer in terms of not just how receptionists could really, they actually felt like they were slowing down, but they were actually more productive, but just what we could do for the customers, how we could treat familiar callers. We have all this cool technology. So no matter the time of the day or whether someone's in or out, or if we know who is calling, the receptionist is able to do more and more and more because the technology has only gotten better and better. So it's really about switching and changing and evolving how we get things done. I think the hardest thing as we've grown is really making change. It takes longer because communication is really important, and it's harder to help the frontline people feel like they're involved in, really knowing what's going on at the top. So when we do make change, there's a lot more planning involved. Not to say we sell out continually every day add more or change things. I think we just finally went to 24/7 service just a couple weeks ago.
Congrats on that.
Thank you.
Final question from the audience, and it's a quick one. Can you bottle some of your happiness and send us some?
Okay, so if I was a receptionist, you said that to me, I'd go to the WOW station and there would like be a bottle of happiness and I would send you that. So if I had your address, that's exactly the kind of thing. Thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure speaking with you today, Jill.
And I guess I have to say, like, if you want this happiness, that's Ruby. If you want this for your company, we actually do have some tips and everything on paper. Ruby.com/boundless is the landing page for those of you.
Right. And if our viewers want to connect with you and learn more or anywhere else, where should they go?
Yes. Yeah. Ruby.com, that's Ruby. And I still have a Ruby address. It's jill.nelson@ruby.com. Happy to take your emails.
Awesome. That's all I have today. Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank you for having
Jill Nelson,
me.
everybody.
It's a wonderful day. I love what you guys are doing. All right.
Talk to you soon.